His only son has just been killed in cold blood. Now, he's back from the dead to get his revenge. Enjoy the story.
I don't miss anyone that your boys have buried so far.
Then you gotta let me do this my way. I can do it in 2 weeks. We only wish you could do it in 20 years.
If their names are on that list, you can do your worst. Just be mindful that I can only look confused for so long. Floor is yours.
As the movie begins, we see 2 security guards from Fortico, a company that specializes in cash truck protection. During one of their routine jobs, their vehicle is attacked by a team of armed robbers. The guards are forced out, and as the robbers start stealing the money, gunshots are heard outside. We later find out in the movie that the guards were killed in this incident, as well as one civilian. 3 months later, Terry, the manager at Fortico, is seen interviewing Patrick Hill, who is to replace one of the guards. Terry gives Patrick a short history of the company and then tells him that his records were impressive, especially his reference from Orange Delta Security. When asked about his family, Patrick tells Terry that he is divorced and has no other family. Terry eventually tells him about the guards they lost in the incident a few months ago. Before officially becoming a part of the company, Patrick is required to undergo firearm testing. Bullet, one of the guards, takes him for the training which he just about manages to pass. Afterward, Bullet nicknamed H and introduces him to his new colleagues, including Dana, Bob, and Dave. They didn't appear pleased to have him around, and Dave appears specially reserved about him. And it didn't help when H made a joke about him on his first day. Their first cash delivery together goes smoothly. They got their firearms, collected the cash, and delivered to the destination, then returned to Fortico. The next day, while on another job with Dave, H experiences his first major challenge. As they waited for Bullet, Dave decided he was taking too long and called him only to discover that he had been captured by robbers. The robbers immediately order H and Dave to take the money in the van to a certain location if they want to see Bullet again. Dave immediately begins to panic. He tells H that they need to call it in because the real money was inside the truck with them, and the robbers will not kill Bullet for just $25,000. However, H remains very calm and tells him to relax and drive to the location. On arrival, the men order H to load the cash into their truck. However, H intentionally drops one of the bags on the floor, and this creates an opportunity for him to shoot one of the robbers. In a show of his impeccable marksmanship, H kills every member of the gang, then calmly goes after the leader. When he catches up with him, H shoots him from behind, then asks who the man works for. He then shoots him when the man doesn't give a sensible answer. When Bullet and Dave eventually get there, H makes fun of Dave once more and leaves the men in utter silence. H then goes outside to check the faces of all the men. In the end, he appears to be disappointed, as though he was looking for someone in particular. Despite the success of their encounter, his extreme use of force is criticized by Terry, who then assigns him to desk duty for a month. However, Fortico's CEO, Blake Halls, praises H and suggests he deserves a promotion instead. Later on, H was invited by the FBI to review the footage of the previous robberies to identify any of the faces. While he focuses on one specific robber, he tells the agents that no one seems familiar to him. Eventually, we learn that H is actually working with an FBI agent named King, who believes H will eventually lead them to the gang responsible for the earlier robbery. Back at work, H is applauded by his fellow guards for his brave actions. But then, some of the men start to wonder about the mystery surrounding him. As time passes, another heist attempt occurs while H and Bullet are on the job. Along the road, a biker blocks their path, and a group of armed men quickly surrounds their truck. However, the moment the robbers see H's face, they immediately retreat and scramble on their bikes to get away. Even the leaders of the gang were obviously terrified. And at the end, this raises suspicions among the Fortico team all over again. Terry is baffled that the robbers had fled without taking any money just because of H's presence. However, Blake was excited and hailed H once more. He even tells him that he'll soon have his own franchise. Soon, Bullet begins to suspect there is more to H than meets the eye, referring to him as a dark spirit. H later carries a deep investigation into one of his colleagues, Dana. He suspects her ways were not clean, so he acted attracted to her, got her in bed, then, while she slept, searched her apartment looking for evidence. Soon, he finds some stolen cash in her apartment. So he woke her and questioned her. After a short and tense interrogation, Dana eventually confesses that she took money from a previous job, leading H to threaten severe consequences if she lies to him. The movie then flashes back 5 months. Back then, H was a criminal involved with an organized crime group. But at that time, he is with his teenage son, Dougie, who is visiting from abroad. During their time together, H gets a call from Mike, his old crime partner, who asks for help with a job. H is very reluctant to have anything to do with the attack because he wants to treasure the little time he has with his son. But when Mike tells him they are short of hands, and this forces H to agree to lend a hand. However, he will not actively participate. All he had to do is to provide Mike with information on the truck's route. Unfortunately, while H and Dougie are at a food stand, the robbery goes terribly wrong. H had gone to get bulgur for himself and his son, when one of the robbers attacked his car where Dougie was. The gunman, who had a scar on his face, orders Dougie out of the van and shoots him in cold blood. H tries to intervene but is shot multiple times, and this eventually leaves him in a coma for 3 weeks. Upon waking, H learns that Dougie is dead, and his ex-wife Jane blames him for their son's death. H, who is by now consumed by guilt and rage, meets with Mike and his other associates, all of whom agree to help him track down the men responsible for the robbery. So, H embarks on a brutal mission, interrogating various criminal groups until he uncovers a lead involving a notorious set of brothers. However, when they can't provide useful information, H kills them all in cold blood. H's quest for revenge eventually leads him to join Fortico, intending to use his position to investigate further. He obtains background checks on the guards and an autopsy report on Dougie's death before joining Fortico. Meanwhile, we are also shown the team behind the robbery. They were a group of ex-military veterans, led by a man named Jackson, who were now struggling to adjust to civilian life. Other members were Carlos, Sam, Tom, Brad, and Jan, the man who killed Dougie. Once more, we see how the previous heist went down, this time from the gang's end. Everything had been going well until the moment when one of the guards tried attacking the robbers. That is when Jan shoots and kills both. Then he notices that Dougie had seen his face, and he shoots him as well. When H ran to intervene, Jan had shot them several times, thinking he had killed him. At present, they are planning another major heist, but tensions within the crew are high, especially regarding Jan's reckless behavior during the last robbery. For their next heist, it's revealed that Bullet is their inside man at Fortico, feeding them information on which trucks to target. They were planning for the big day at Fortico, Black Friday. During their drive, Bullets breaks the news to H about what is about to happen and that the gang will use him to get into the warehouse. They need the jackpot this time around. Bullet also tells him that he had taken his bullet out of his gun, so H had no option than to comply when the gang eventually arrived. The heist begins with Bullet's help as the crew, geared up in bulletproof gear, takes over H's cash truck. They easily gain access into the warehouse and operation seems to be going smoothly until one guard hits the emergency alarm, alerting the authorities, including SWAT and the SEAL. The situation quickly escalates into a bloodbath, with the crew killing guards and blowing open the money vault. Despite the chaos, H, who is still in handcuffs, seizes an opportunity to fight back. He disarms one of the attackers and, using a combination of tactical skill and brutality, starts taking down the robbers, one after the other. In the meantime, the SWAT were on their way, and the police had managed to block the crew's escape route. However, Bullet's betrayal becomes evident when he kills Dana and another guard as he reveals his true loyalty to the gang. In the midst of the firefight, H confronts several members of the gang, including Jackson. He manages to take some of the men out before Bullet puts him down. Bullet also shoots Dave as he puts the remaining bags of money inside their truck. H, though down, seems to recognize Jan, as they drive past him and the two exchange a cold stare. They soon burst through the blockage at the gate, and when SWAT arrives, they engage in a high-speed chase. However, the robbers manage to escape into a hidden underground tunnel. The tunnel was all part of their plan, as the SWAT team eventually discovers that the tunnel had long been sealed off to the public. In the meantime, as the gang make their escape, tensions within the crew reach a boiling point. In a turn of events, Jan betrays Jackson, who was injured. He kills him as his plan was to take the money for himself. He also double-crossed Bullet and shoots, ensuring that he alone escapes with the loot. Using their plan, Jan successfully evades capture and escapes from the tunnel. Sometime later, Jan is shown enjoying his wealth in an apartment. However, he soon senses that something was wrong, and he eventually finds a cell phone ringing inside one of the bags of money. H had used the phone to trace him there. He gives Jan Dougie's autopsy report and forces Jan to read it out loud. The report details the exact position Dougie was shot: the liver, lungs, spleen, and heart. H then systematically shoots Jan in each of these locations, mirroring the way his son was killed. With his revenge now fully complete, H leaves the apartment and meets with Agent King, who tells him the case is closed and the stolen money will now be recovered. In the end, H rides away with a sense of satisfaction. The movie ends with H driving off, leaving behind the bloodshed, having finally gotten revenge for his son. If you liked this recap, do not forget to subscribe to the channel and drop a like on the video. Thanks for watching.